Chapter 1. Beginnings to Endings. It didn't take me long enough to find out what has been going on with the void. I was immune to it. I started to figure out many things. How the void works, how the void changes the world, and how the void infects everyone. As I began to do some research about how the void works, Naoki came to my room. "Shadow," he said, "what are you doing over here?" "Oh, me? I was trying to get some research to the void. I just wanted to know how it works," I replied. "The void isn't good for you," Naoki told me. "You could get infected by it." "I told you, I'm fine. I'm immune to the void, by the way." "Huh?" I started to explain everything about how the void didn't infect me. The void burns aren't there at my skin. At least, not now. "Well, you're lucky then," Naoki said with a smile. I started to giggle. No wonder the void could take over me. It was like lightning in a snowstorm. As I started to look around, exploring the woods, see what nature is behind them, I found a knife on the tree. As I got the knife out of the tree, I started to thought about something. Where did this knife come from? What does it belong to? And how did it get here? I didn't know how it got here or what it belongs to. Who it belongs to, by the way. I began to hide the knife when someone was approaching me. "Hey, what are you doing with that knife? It's too dangerous for it," Vault said, claiming that I wasn't hiding something. "Oh, nothing. It's just that I found this knife at the tree and I didn't know who it belonged to, by the way. It came out of nowhere." "Me neither," Vault said. "Oh, I heard that you were doing some research. What was that you were talking about?" "Oh, that?" I asked. "I was doing some research on the void. I was immune to it, by the way. Thank God it didn't take control of me." "Well, that's good," Vault said with a smile. "You started to get lucky." I started to giggle. No wonder how I got so lucky. I started to follow Vault back to my house as I found something. No wonder he was taking me home. I started feeling better now on. As I started drawings in my living room, Naoki came to me and said, "Hey, Shadow?" And I replied, "Yes, Naoki?" "There's a little bit of something about your blood." "Huh?" "You see, your blood has started to create some mysterious creatures." I started to get curious. "What do you mean, creatures?" "You know what I'm talking about. The mimics." I started to remember the mimic. It was the first time I've ever saw one. It was like a Wendigo or a skinwalker. "Oh, you mean that? It was created by my blood," I said. "Yeah. You see, Evel and Shu told me that your blood started to create more mimics and began attacking people and possessing people," Naoki explained. "It wouldn't stop until every person is killed." So I guess I'm gonna have to run some experiments on your blood, Naoki said. What? You can't put an experiment on me. I'm a wolf, I said, glaring at Naoki. I'm not going to put some experiments on you, Naoki said. Just your blood, which means you're gonna have to take the shot. I knew it all along. I was afraid of shots. Oh boy, I hope this one isn't that bad, I thought. Naoki took the syringe and started putting alcohol on my arm. The healing alcohol. Now this is going to hurt a little, okay? Naoki asked, and I started to nod. He put the syringe on my arm and started gathering all of the blood in my arm. I could feel the pain coming towards me. As he started to remove the syringe, he gave me a pink and fuchsia band-aid on my arm. See? Isn't that better? Naoki asked. I hesitated for a bit. It only started to sting a little. See? I told you it wasn't that bad, Naoki smiled. I started to smile back. No wonder I had a flu shot like this when I was young. I would have started crying like a 3-year-old. As I ran up to my room, my screams were always different. I always thought about how wendigos sound like. My screams sound like a wendigo, so I started to scream like a wendigo. My wendigo sounds are perfectly different from another. They thought they were scared of me, like I'm an outcast, but I wasn't alone. As Evel and Naoki started to run some experiments on my blood, I started peeking. Then I thought about something. What were they doing? Why was my blood creating those mimics? Evel called my name, and I started to run downstairs. What is it? I asked him. Your blood seems to be at critical condition now. The blood you had when you were bleeding was creating all other mimics. When I started bleeding, the mimic has become a little more erratic and started to take possession of me. I couldn't control myself. Evel explained. What does it want? I asked. I think it wants your blood, Evel said. It's like a vampire or something. You mean like a mimic vampire? Yes. I started to hesitate for a minute. No wonder vampires were only just mimics. Vampires only suck blood to live, not mimics. There were a tons of mimics that were created by my blood. Some of them are big, and some of them are stronger. I couldn't explain why these mimics were feasting on humans. Maybe hunger, maybe cruelty, or maybe the horrors of the souls that were being tainted. The next day, I went to my room with Shu. It didn't take long for me to figure out what all other mimics do. The mimic, I said. It's created by my blood. But Shadow, Shu said, you were bleeding. Your arm was bleeding. I know my arm was bleeding, and it started to create more mimics, but it was creating drops of blood, and it started to create more and more mimics. A sludge of blood can only create a mimic of you, Shu explained. Exactly, I exclaimed. I didn't want that to happen. Especially not you. Don't worry, Shu says. They're running some tests on your blood. It's gonna take a while. Wait here. I'll be back in a few. I promise. As Shu left my room, I began to thought about something about mimics. They always get me for the first time. And they always seem to kill people. Like how demons were trying to kill people with their own teeth. Mimics, I thought. They were created by my own blood. But why?